Moving on to the next section of the front lines, let's talk the environment. On August 25th, next Tuesday, activists will descend on Washington, many risking arrest in order to take the issue of big oil quite literally to Secretary of State John Kerry's front door. Why, you ask? Well, here's the basic gist. In typical underhanded asshole corporate fashion, the Canadian oil company Enbridge, yeah, that's an image of a 2010 oil spill courtesy of Enbridge. Enbridge is moving ahead with a huge expansion of its Alberta Clipper tar sands pipeline, despite the fact that it hasn't gone through a mandatory environmental review process. According to the fucksticks at Enbridge, they don't have to. They don't have to go through that pesky review process because they plan to build this horrendous planet-snuffing snake of a pipeline nearby an older existing pipeline. Okay, so even if that argument made sense, which it doesn't, how about the added environmental risk inherent in having two fucking pipelines so close to one another, carrying the most toxic form of this outdated, outmoded, outlogicked fossil fuel we've ever been dumb enough to dig out of the fucking ground? Luckily, this corporate backhanding has not gone unnoticed, and the activists with Midwest unrest are fighting back. 2 years and thousands of hours, phone calls, and petitions later, a lawsuit is expected to reach a federal court on September 10th. However, Secretary John Kerry does have the power to call bullshit on this deal even before then. So far, he has flatly ignored the continued protest over the tar sands and this pipeline, so protesters are making it so that he can't ignore them. Next Tuesday, August 25th, activists will meet in Washington, D.C. for an action calling on Secretary Kerry at his front door to stand with the people against big oil. The day will begin with a rally and some student speakers, after which protesters will march through Georgetown to Secretary Kerry's house. Some of them will risk arrest on Kerry's front steps, while others, including perhaps you, will rally in the streets without risking arrest. And if you need an extra nudge, consider this. The fate of the Keystone XL is still uncertain, but there is no question that the continued push of the people led officials to question this supposed shoo-in of a pipeline. In other words, giving a shit and doing something about it actually does work. We have to continue that fight because, as is the case with any issue, the corporate dickhats won't go down easily. So to join the fight and to learn more, visit midwestunrest.org. Now, from Kerry's front door to the tar sand pits themselves, one group of activists has decided to make a pilgrimage to one of these pits of despair via bicycle. Yep, last Saturday, activists set out on a 24-day bike ride from northern Washington state to just outside Alberta, Canada, seeking to spread awareness about the tar sands and to bring that sometimes lacking human connection to the environmental movement. I had the opportunity to talk to one of the bikers before she set out on the ride last week. Take a look.
A bunch of folks from Seattle will be, biking along the Trans Mountain oil pipeline up to the tar sands. It's a way to kind of experience every mile of this of our landscape between where our oil comes from and where we live day to day, where it's really easy to kind of not think about the immense structural systems that we're involved in as a part of an oil economy and as a part of our capitalist economy.
And is the route along an existing pipeline, or how did you choose the route that you're taking?
Yeah, so right now there is a pipeline called the Trans Mountain Pipeline, and it runs from Edmonton, Alberta. And then it has a final little stretch that goes down to Anacortes, Washington, which is less than an hour from Seattle. And that pipeline carries 300,000 barrels per day of bitumen, so a really, really crude form of oil out, and then it's tankered away over the seas and is refined. And right now they're proposing to twin that pipeline. So instead of 300,000 barrels per day, it would send 890,000 barrels per day, which I believe is about 20% larger than the proposed Keystone XL.
What is the plan once you get to it's a tar sand pit, correct? And what is the plan once you get there?
Well, it's more than just it's a vast expanse of land, a portion of Alberta the size of Florida. And so the end of our travels will end in Fort McMurray, which is the oil boom town of Alberta. We'll be staying with some First Nations groups up there, and we're really there to listen and try to capture stories. I know that our filmmaker will be going in a plane to get some aerial footage of the tar sands from up above.
So what is the ultimate goal is, of course, as you said, to listen to people's stories. What will you then do with these stories? I saw that you had some blog posts on your page, but are you going to be turning that? You said the filmmaker. Are you going to be turning this into a documentary? Or are you going to be turning this into a longer series of journalistic entries? What exactly is the plan there?
Yeah, so we have a filmmaker. His name is Phil Walker, and he's a wonderful, environmentally conscious storyteller. And he is going to be following us along, filming both our journey and then capturing a lot of interviews with individuals along the route. And I know the ultimate hope is to turn it into a full-length documentary. A part of the interesting thing about the group of folks that are doing this bicycle ride is that a lot of them are artists, musicians, storytellers in other ways. And so one of the projects that we will be working on is to take pictures of friends and folks that we meet, and to capture some quotes and some stories around this question, like what's one thing you want the world to know about the place that you live in? Like what's sacred to this particular place? What makes it so beautiful, makes it home? Because I think that we all have stories that we carry within us about the place that we live. And a big focus of this trip is the sort of bioregional component, is that when you cross over the border from the United States to Canada, you don't enter a separate country as much as you're still in the same bioregional land, and it's the same through line of people living. So a lot of our art projects are centering around or are trying to dig deeper down into what unites us, as opposed to trying to craft a condemning narrative of the tar sands are so bad, boo, boo, boo. Because I don't think that's what is going to lift us all up together. And I think that the team feels similarly. So the hope is that once we come back, we'll have these photos, we'll have these videos. We have a lot of music. We want to kind of pin them together and do these presentations back in Seattle to weave together the story of the people we meet along the way and the importance of pilgrimage, the importance of traveling to these places that are so much a part of your day-to-day living, but you can't see them at first glance.
For more information on the bike ride and to support their efforts, visit tarsandsride.org.